Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Don't Get Me Going podcast. My name is Zoe Lulinski, and today I'm going to be talking about my reaction to some of the big Week 5 games. Week 6 is just around the corner, and there was a lot of fun events that happened this past week, Week 5. I'm also going to be giving you guys my first top 10 of the season. I know it's a little late after Week 5 to be giving you guys this, but I do think it's a perfect time to be making this list. I mean, I think Week 5 is when you really start to find out a team's identity, and teams start to really come together and show who they are. Foreshadowing, if you could per se, for later on in the season. So I'll be giving you guys that, and then the rest of the episode is just my reactions to some big news and reactions to some of the games this past week. Robert Saleh, as of Tuesday morning, was fired as head coach from the New York Jets, and I'll be getting into that later as well. And, some of the impacts that might have for going later into the season. To start, there was a lot of fun games this week. I mean, Thursday night, the Buccaneers versus Falcons, NFC South divisional matchup. Those are the two best teams in that division, and that was a very great competitive fun game to watch for a Thursday night game. Obviously, it went into overtime, and it wasn't the only game this week that went into overtime. There was a lot of close, fun games to watch. But I think it brings up a conversation that I think has been a conversation for a while, but it needs to be said. I think the NFL's overtime rules are horrible, and for a team like the Buccaneers, Baker played his ass off in that game and lost and didn't even get a chance to touch the ball in overtime, and I think that is very unfair to the whole Buccaneers team, especially with the division being so close. I think with the Falcons win, they took the top spot in that division, and I think it's unfair. I mean, we've seen this in the past with Josh Allen on the Bills against the Chiefs in the playoffs. The same exact thing happened, and the Chiefs went on to go far into the playoffs that year. And I think these NFL rules are stupid, and make it at least closer to what it is in college football, where both teams get a chance no matter what. I think that's a much better option. And then a lot of really fun scoring plays we saw as well. There were two blocked field goal kicks. One again with the Cardinals and 49ers late in that game. I think that was a big game changer for them. And then the Giants and Seahawks also had one. That was the game-winning play for the Giants, and it was a really, really fun ending to see for them as well. There was also a 99-yard fumble recovery in that exact game, which is really fun. And then a 101-yard pick six in the Broncos-Raiders game. So a lot of unique scoring in this week, which made it even more fun and exciting to watch. Getting into my top 10, going into week 6, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they just came off their best game of the season. Obviously, there were some weak points, but that defense showed they are a top 5, top 10 defense in the league. They held the Saints to 13 points, even with some of the mistakes that the offense made. I think that just shows how good they could be, and I think that's what a defense should be. The offense should be able to make mistakes, and the defense should be able to put a team on their back if they have to, and that is exactly what they did. So, really fun game to watch. And then obviously it's something that the Chiefs need because, they're very injured. So, really nice to see there for the Chiefs. The Vikings, again, they're 5-0 just like the Chiefs. They were a little lackluster in offense this week, but that defense, just like the Chiefs, showed that they could show up and show out for the Vikings there. And I think it is crucial that the Vikings get Aaron Jones back as soon as possible. The Lions were on a bye week this week, but last week against the Seahawks, the Lions offense looked like one of the more dominant offenses in the league, and they looked really good. So number 3 is the Lions. Texans at number 4, Ravens at number 5. They just had a shootout win against the Bengals. That Bengals defense is really bad, but Joe Burrow will make the Bengals competitive no matter what. I know their record is 1-4, but that was a tough fought win for the Ravens there. And then Bills at 6, Buccaneers at 7. I talked about their game a little bit already. And then Commanders, Jaden Daniels as a rookie is carrying that team into a top 10 team, and it's really cool, really awesome to see. I feel like CJ Stroud kind of set the scene last year for rookie quarterbacks, and I'll get more into the rookies a little later, but two of the rookies right now are already showing that they could lead their team. And then, Bo Nix has looked really good too. And then Packers and Falcons are at 9 and 10. I do have some honorable mentions because I feel like outside of the top 10, there's a bunch of teams you can kind of throw in the mix. But the two I just had as a thought are the Seahawks and Eagles there. And then just to throw it out there, I think it's time for Deshaun Watson to stop playing football indefinitely. He's the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. He signed one of the biggest deals in history, and then fell off the face of the earth. And I don't think he should be playing. He has no team chemistry. He's inaccurate. He also has been shutting down under pressure. I just don't think he's the player he used to be, and he's also a horrible person that should not have any connection to the league. So those are my thoughts on Deshaun Watson. So in other breaking news, Robert Saleh, the head coach for the New York Jets, was recently fired this past week, directly after the Week 5 games ended Tuesday morning. It was announced that he was fired after a 2-3 start with the Jets, and Jeff Ulbrich will be named the interim head coach, and he does have some coaching experience, so I think it'll be fun to see what he does with the team, with most of the season left still. I think that will be interesting to watch. The Jets obviously think that they still have a chance. Otherwise, I feel like it was a really stupid move to fire Saleh so early. Just to put it out there as well, I think this completely 100% has to do with Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers has full control of the team. But anyway, in all seriousness, though, I do think it was a big mix of Robert Saleh, for whatever reason, losing the locker room, because it was really sudden. It's continued to be reported today. It was sudden. Robert Saleh was blindsided. He was escorted out of the facility without even being able to greet his players afterwards, which I think is pretty strange and pretty shitty. I don't know the context of it, so who knows, but I feel like that was a really weird thing to do. They're 2-3 right now, so it wasn't the worst start, especially Robert Saleh has had 5 games with Aaron Rodgers, so I feel like it was a little bit early, but they obviously thought something was wrong and think they have a chance. I think they're definitely still in win now mode, and it does not at all affect the situation with Davante Adams. If you didn't hear last week, the Raiders' star wide receiver Davante Adams requested a trade, and he used to play with Aaron Rodgers on the Packers, and so the Jets have been a big talking point on possibly getting him. I don't really think this makes much of a difference because I think they're still in win now mode, and Davante Adams would make a big impact on the team. So I don't think there's much worrying there. I think it's also a very strange firing because you have Nathaniel Hackett right there. I think Nathaniel Hackett is behind Aaron Rodgers' little corner, so I think he's safe. And Robert Saleh was reportedly planning on getting him fired, but we saw what Nathaniel Hackett did as head coach on the Broncos, and I think a lot of the offensive struggles could be pointed in his direction. But I also think Aaron Rodgers is probably going to be on his way out, and if he wants to follow Brett Favre's footsteps, he'll be on the Vikings next year. But in all seriousness, again, I think Aaron Rodgers, he's still showing flashes of who he used to be, but he's already injured again, and I think he's close to being on his way out in the league. But he's had a really great career, one that I'd love to forget. But yeah, moving on to the NFC North, the NFC North contains the Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers, Detroit Lions, and Minnesota Vikings, and they are the only division in the entire league to have every team with a winning record at the moment after 5 weeks. The Vikings are 5-0, the Lions are 3-1 after their bye week, and the Bears and Packers are both 3-2. So this is a very competitive division, and it would be so cool to see all four of these teams make it to the playoffs. Obviously, 4 out of 7 teams from one division might be rare to see, but they're also 4 of the best teams in the conference, in my opinion. So it would be really cool. Getting into the teams specifically, I think the Vikings, this last game against the Jets, showed that they really need Aaron Jones back. They had one of their worst offensive performances of the season so far. Obviously, they're still 5-0, but I think they need him. The defense put the team on the back after getting a 17-0 cushion after the first half. But yeah, so we'll see how they play. They have a bye week this week, but they play divisional rival Detroit Lions the week afterwards, and so it'll be really interesting to see how that game goes. It'll be very fun to watch with both teams playing so well so far. The Lions just came off their bye week, but also came off one of their more dominant offensive performances against the Seahawks. The expectations coming into the season were very good for the Lions, and they're continuing to have high expectations. The Packers, I feel like, are back on track after having Jordan Love back for 2 weeks now. They started off a little slow in the first half, but they were the very much so more dominant team against the Rams in the second half. And Xavier McKinney looks insane. So I think he's in Defensive Player of the Year talks if we want to go talk about that. They play the Cardinals next week, so we'll see how they play. And then all 3 of those teams I consider, like I mentioned earlier, top 10 teams. I think the Bears, not quite yet, are in the honorable mention section, but I'd still say they're maybe top 15, top 18 right now. We just got to see how they play this next week in London against the Jaguars, and then they have their bye week after. So, but Caleb Williams is continuing to get better every single week, and it's very fun watching him progress. After 5 weeks, he already has 2 300-plus yard passing games. Last week he was 20 for 29, 2 touchdowns, and around 336 total yards. So very fun game to watch. I feel like the Bears are the perfect example showing why the running game is so important. Those first 2 or 3 weeks, they did not look like the same team they look like now, and that's mostly due to DeAndre Swift stepping up. So really exciting. The Bears defense, they're the number 1 secondary in the league heading into week 6, and that defensive line looks scary. Javon Dexter, Andrew Billings, Montez Sweat, that's a really good trio there, and they're really fun to watch so far. Lastly, heading into the rookie quarterbacks, this might be one of the best classes for rookie quarterbacks, specifically in their rookie year in a very long time. Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams are both leading their teams to a winning record so far. Jaden Daniels, a Commanders team that had very little expectations heading into the season, they're top 10 as of now, to me at least. They're a top 10 team, and they have around over 150 points within the first 5 weeks, which is a record since 1970 for a rookie quarterback. So that's really cool to see. Bo Nix had a pretty solid game against the Raiders, and then it was just announced recently that Drake May will also be starting for the Patriots next week. So very eventful for rookie quarterbacks, very fun to watch. I'm super excited where it goes. There's going to be a couple rookie on rookie matchups here coming up in the next few weeks, and I'm super excited to see where that goes. But that's all I got for this episode of the podcast. Thank you for watching. Do not get me going. I will keep talking about sports and the NFL for the rest of the season. I'm not going anywhere. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.